What is up, Friday Nighters? Welcome back to another episode of Just Another Friday Night. I am one of your two hosts, CM Chuck. Across from me, Double A.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
It's Friday night, guys. Cheers, right, Double A?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It was a long week for me, I can tell you that.
It was a long, hot week for me. But, you know what? I'm glad I'm kind of doing the outside work again. It feels so much better, and I'm just better at that than office work. So
I hear you, man. Can you guys hear us okay? If you guys are out there in Friday Night Land, can you? I turned our mic down. Now, yeah. I turned our mic down so the intro music is loud.
I know for a lot of you guys, some might have a 3-day weekend, and it's Juneteenth.
I do.
Yeah. And just before we forget, this Sunday is Father's Day, so happy early Father's Day to all the people that are watching. So
happy early Father's Day to you again, Double A. I know I told you last weekend and I can see now Double A's got the Black Adam open there. It looks pretty badass.
And you know what? Happy Father's Day to dads, stepdads, uncles, godfathers. Thank you. So everyone that's been important to a son or a daughter. So happy Father's Day to all of y'all. So.
Yeah. What's up, Jason? Welcome.
What's up, Jason?
We appreciate you being here, man. Yeah, man. Very famous dad in our family. Your dad to you, but also was like a dad to my mom, but was her godfather. Yep. And I grew up calling him uncle, and he was almost like the closest thing I had to a grandfather on my mom's side. So it's like very interesting, right? You know what I mean? And then again to the role I play in my nephew's life as well.
Big role.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for coming to his birthday this weekend too. I want to say a shout out to Mr. Ray Chapa. Ray, thank you so much for hooking it up this weekend, brother.
Ray, I know you had trouble. You told me and CM how much trouble you almost got, or the shit, not trouble, but the shit you're kind of taking from the company. I'm not going to mention the company, but but apparently it got squared away, he said. So.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you sticking your neck out, doing the thing for us and making the day special, man. It really meant a lot to us. So, that's an old school friendship that goes back, way back, right?
Way back.
I think over 30 years.
80s,
so,
right?
But 30 years for you too.
Oh, yeah.
So, Ray, we really appreciate you, man, this weekend.
Yeah, we got a great picture together.
Yes, we did. And I want to thank everyone that came out to my nephew's birthday and celebrate. We really appreciate that, too. Oh, yeah, he said to tell you thank you, to tell you hi, and to tell you thank you. Hey, I forget to say, he tells me every weekend when I leave.
Joe, if you're here, it was a battering, but it was Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
All right? Not fucking Bruce Wayne.
That's right. Terry. Good old Terry.
I
just barely found out that apparently the guy from Boy Meets World is who voices Terry. The guy that was like friend. Not the main kid that was Fred Savage's little brother, but the friend. They said he went on to have more fame amongst like our
shit. Voice work is where it's at.
I'm telling you, man, dude. Phil LeVar.
Mark Hamill almost has a whole second career.
Absolutely.
Voice work.
Absolutely.
We heard him throughout the '90s in Spider-Man, Batman, and so much more.
The reason we know Kevin Conroy.
I think
arguably the best Batman of all time.
I think Mark Hamill almost has as big of a fan base for Batman, for playing the Joker, that he almost does for Luke.
I would agree.
It's fucking crazy.
I would agree. Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Like it's like a lot of people always say, if you do the Joker, you got to get Mark Hamill.
Yeah, exactly. And all these side movies they're doing, people are like, why don't you just get him if he's available?
Which is crazy because it's always like you always think Kevin Conroy should have like a lifetime contract. Him and Mark Hamill, like whenever there's a new movie,
animated stuff, right?
They got to be there because it always sounds weird when I hear Batman. And it's not fucking Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, I've heard a few other people do it, and I'm like, why did they get?
Yeah, I'm like, no, this sounds fucking weird.
Sounds weird. Sounds very weird. So yeah, I also famously remember that great, one of the great things to come out of that crisis that they did for the TV shows was getting to see him do it live action, right? Bruce Wayne, right? Like, wow, how cool is that for him? I imagine.
And it looked like a Kingdom Come Batman too.
Yes, with the gear,
the brace,
on, so. But adrenalize me, Double A. What is up in the world of pop culture news this week? Seemed like some stuff went on.
Yeah, some sad news happened yesterday. Tim Sale, legendary comic book artist, we love his work. His Batman work is super influential.
The Long Halloween, right?
Yeah, The Long Halloween.
One of the most iconic Batman stories.
Yeah.
Like simple but gorgeous art, right? Like just, him
and Jeff Loeb.
Yep.
The team.
Has he released a statement yet? Or what did he say?
I haven't seen Jeff Loeb.
I can imagine.
But I've seen just about every other artist that I follow, writer that I follow. Rob Liefeld, he kind of has a little remembrance on his podcast.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to mention, too, on his podcast today that dropped, so.
Wonderful. Yeah, I saw that picture that he posted. I saw a couple other artists post pictures. I think Jason Fabok, he follows us on Instagram.
That's right. He does.
He posted too. Yeah, man. I mean, like, just a great talent. Famous for the Marvel
68
work.
Golly, it's like
he looked good. Was that wow? I didn't know he realized he was 68.
Three artists in a row though now.
And then he was sick, right? Something happened. He was sick.
Yeah.
He did the work that first came out that I think I saw him on was that called Daredevil Yellow, which was a cool story.
Him and Jeff Loeb.
Where I think that the majority of the book is black and white except for Daredevil. He's in yellow, and that was like Daredevil's first costume when he first appeared.
After that was very successful, they asked him to do Hulk Gray, which my brother is a huge Hulk fan. Says that's one of the best stories that he's ever read of the Hulk.
I love that story.
Oh, okay.
I own that. I own that hardcover. That in fact, your brother tried to get it off me a couple times, and I was like, "Those books are so hard to find."
Yeah.
I've tried to find the Spider-Man Blue, and it's well in the 80s.
Yeah. If you don't get those fucking hardcovers right then and there, forget it.
Forget it.
Just forget it.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a...
If you guys have a mild interest in a hardcover, get it. I bought the Three Jokers hardcover, even though I had the books, because I was like, I'm not going to get it again at that price. So, yeah, man. And then he did Captain America Red, White, and Blue. I believe that's what it's called, right?
I think so.
Or White. It might have been Captain America White.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, it was like colors.
Yeah, there was a whole series of them. Again, the Spider-Man Blue is one of the greatest stories.
Hugely successful. And like I said, his, 2 runs on Batman with Jeff Loeb are just super influential.
Yeah.
Like, man, it's just off the charts.
So you said 3AA was George Perez,
Neil Adams.
Neil Adams. Oh my gosh.
Now Tim Sale. So it's kind of
rough year for comics, guys. Let me tell you. So rest in peace to him, Tim Sale, and all the other great artists, and prayers and blessings with their family. Always tough to lose a loved one, and I guess for us in the comic community, it's just like, we love their work, and we're going to miss seeing future stuff, So if you have their stuff, keep it and treasure it, because there ain't going to be any more of it,
Yeah.
What else, AA?
Me and my family, we saw Jurassic World Dominion.
Dominion, yeah. Awesome. I'm waiting to see it. Oh, wow. A mild shrug.
After letting it kind of marinate, because I talked to Amy about it, and I was like, you know what? Cal might like it because it's got a lot more dinosaur action.
Okay.
But the stupid plot from the second movie kind of follows into the third movie, Oof. Yeah, so it's kind of like, I think the one thing that really saved this movie was the old cast, honestly. So it was kind of like, it was a stupid plot line. Just all the way around, it's just stupid.
Okay.
But the dinosaur action was great.
All right.
Dinosaur action was super awesome.
Did the kids like it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They liked it enough,
Okay.
But like I said, watching it, you're just watching the plot and everything. Like I said, it follows from the second one, where she lets out all the dinosaurs into the world. Stupid. Like, really, raptors? I don't want a fucking raptor out my house, come on now.
You got raccoons in the trash, and you got raptors in the trash.
Now you got fucking raptors.
Fuck, man. That's shit. Joe's in the house. What's up, Joe?
What's up, Joe?
We already made a reference to you, I think, before you got on.
He knows. I said, because he posted something on the Now Watch This about something how Batman is so badass that he banged Lois and found out about Superman's identity right away. And I was like, stop with this bullshit. Just stop.
I don't want to hear it. Not here. Not in this house.
And then he threw it out again that we're somehow closeted Batman fans because of all our episodes of Batman. And I was like, you know what? That last one that we did with you, it's going to be the last one, pal.
The market is kind of saturated with the guy, to be honest. So it's kind of hard.
But apparently he says we're in the closet when it comes to Batman. So
yeah, I was talking to him earlier via message about how he was a closeted geek at one time. He hided his geekdom from everybody. So, but speaking of Joe being here, and he wanted us to do an entire episode, I think, regarding the wrongdoings of one Vince McMahon.
Actually, it has made big news.
It's
been on
CNN news. Yeah,
it's been on ESPN. Yeah. So supposedly Vince had an affair with some divas. I don't even know that's what you call them. One of the female wrestlers.
But he paid, right?
And he paid hush money, $3 million. And apparently, after going through all this stuff, they found some other alleged affairs. And apparently, John Laurinaitis, one of his VPs, is involved too. So, big scandal, big everything. And now, he stepped down as CEO. But Stephanie is now back as CEO. So
who had stepped away, right?
Yeah, who had stepped away.
Let's see. Happy Father's Day, Tiger, and happy Godfather's Day to you, Mijo. Oh, thank you so much, Facebook user. Dang it, I got it, guys. Go give StreamYard permission to use your name. If you give StreamYard permission, StreamYard.com/Facebook, you can give permission to. We'll see your name here in the stream.
Hey, Joe, I don't know if you saw it, but he did come out on SmackDown. He came out to a pretty thunderous applause. He said the 3 words that we always show in the beginning, then, now, forever. And he said something about us being together. And then he said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SmackDown. And he exited the ring.
Wow. Kind of bold, right? Double A?
Very bold.
Amidst all this.
Very fucking bold.
Which is so Vince, right? I mean, like,
You know what? He's probably been through worse, honestly.
He probably has. The steroid scandal.
I don't know if any of you saw Dark Side of the Ring, but they're saying he might have got Jimmy Snuka off of maybe a possible murder charge. So that's how much power this man has, whatever you want to say.
People often say that Don King was in league with Lucifer, right?
He has to be. After getting shot in the head twice.
Maybe Vince has a little deal, too, a little side deal with the Lord of Darkness, you know what I mean? I don't know. You know, the guy makes great wrestling. I think that might be Sis.
That might be your mom.
Or it might be mom. Oh, she says, yeah, Kalel says, hi. Hello, Mijo. We appreciate you being here, bud. The genetic jackhammer himself says,
Joe says, yes, sir, I saw it, but I'm at HEB now watching y'all while the wife shops.
Oh, very nice, very nice. There's nothing better to do to pass time at HEB while the wife shops than watching our show, let me tell you.
Hey, guys, if you have an HEB where they have the barbecue spot, I highly recommend it. I went to one. And their barbecue is actually not bad.
Really?
Their barbecue is pretty good. I've had a turkey sandwich and some brisket beans, and it's pretty fucking good.
Which one did you go to that had that?
That one, I was coming from New Braunfels, but I know I know their HEBs are popping up with barbecues, like their own little barbecue joints.
I did not know that.
And they have turkey, sausage, brisket, chicken, potato salad, brisket beans, rice.
I've been to some HEBs that have the one that has the I think it's called
pollo asados.
The flaming bird.
Yes.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
And
that was great. When I was in Converse, when I lived in Converse,
it's good.
That was fucking good.
Every time I go to an HEB that has one, it's always closed. Like I seem to find myself at that one late. Yeah,
really?
But my good my good friend and coworker John, he works nights at HEB or whatever, and he does some of the deep cleaning. He says on those areas, and he says that
no, it's great.
People swear by it.
Yeah, it is. They give you a really great amount of chicken, a good amount of rice, a good amount of beans. I mean, that shit was good. They really do a good job on their shit. You know,
hey, HEB, how about a little sponsorship? Double A vouching for your barbecue and now vouching for your
chicken,
Boys Asados type chicken. Yeah. When are they gonna come down here? Double A, we don't have an HEB down here.
We don't have one where we live for sure. We still kind of have like an old school HEB.
Yeah, exactly. And they just redid it right and made it bigger and good. It's still old school somehow.
It's still very old school.
You know. So, guys, I'm just doing a real quick search for the link so that I can get you guys hooked up with.
And then real quick. I did see another trailer for House of the Dragon.
Oh, right, yeah.
August 21st.
Okay.
On HBO. I'm gonna be into it, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna be into it. And then I heard today.
You are or you aren't?
No, I am.
Yeah.
Then I heard today that Kit Harington has signed on to do a series on Jon Snow.
I heard that news. I heard that news.
Okay.
I am super excited for that. I wonder how that story. It's got to be a story after, right?
I wouldn't want to see that. Yes, I hope so. I hope it's that.
There could be no prequel because we literally watched him grow up, on the show. Yeah. So let's see here. What do we got there? A bunch of comments came in here. Sorry about that, guys.
Just said barbecue is okay.
Oh, okay. You had the
Where did she have
HEB barbecue without me, hon. All right. She says I don't eat a lot of barbecue. She said Steve says cheers, guys. Happy Father's Day, Steve. Happy Father's Day, sir. Cheers to you as well.
Oh, and just said she says I don't eat a lot of barbecue, but she said the potato salad was legit. Man, Jess, where did you have it?
Yeah, when did you
have
the
HEB
did you go to? Where was I? I want to know about this. She says Boys Asados great. We're not talking about our Boys Asados, but Double A was saying the version that's inside HEB. I think it's called Flaming Bird is what it's
called.
The
only one I've seen for me is the one in Converse. But you said you've seen one too.
Yeah, yes, yeah, I have seen. I've seen a couple. There's one I think over. Well, no, I think it's that one. I saw it at that one, but then I've seen that the one that's like way over, like by Bandera, I think too, or whatever. She says, "Who's that guy?" It's my guy on the right. Thank you. Am I? To
on
me,
her right.
Okay, I was like,
right. Yeah.
I'm always confused.
She goes, "Who's the guy on my right?" So she's looking.
Hey, hon, I appreciate you being here. Joe says, "I can't wait to be on the next Batman episode."
You have to wait a while.
Very nice, Joe. Very nice. Let's see what else. She says, "Yes, Joe. Yeah, I'm watching. Cheers. I know. Just kidding. She goes, you guys rock. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, guys. If you are joining us via Facebook, I'm about to post a link here for you. Please go to this link. The comment's going to come from us here. I just copied it because our good friends over at Collecting Weekly and the Collecting Weekly Auxiliary, the Oxfather, Zach always posts this up on his, and I always stupidly forget to post that. But if you go to that link and give StreamYard.com/Facebook permission, we will see your name here in the comments. Currently, sometimes we do not, and that has been a source of ire for us. So we're trying to get past that. But yeah, Double A, to get back on track. Although I love when we talk food. So we got to get that food podcast going. We keep talking about it. Yeah, so Daddy Vince is in trouble. Daughter Steph's stepping up. You think it'll be a big change, or he's going to be pulling the strings?
No, he's going to be pulling the strings. Come on.
That's his company. That's his. Yeah. He's like, this is mine. I'll do the PC thing and step down.
I think he did this with the steroid scandal.
Did he?
Jerry Jarrett had taken over while he was doing that. So
the man knows how to manage a crisis. So you know, I have all the respect in the world for Vince McMahon. He was one time on my Mount Rushmore of greatest wrestlers. And you know, Double A just said right now he would love one day to deep dive talk about him. He's just one of those
guys that, you know, me and CM were like, you know, it's like Stan Lee, George Lucas, Vince McMahon. You know,
Hugh Hefner, Michael Jordan, Oprah. Yeah. These are self-made people that built empires. Media empires like that. That's something. You know, so certainly would love to talk more about Vince McMahon and you know, I mean, if people got paid, then was there wrongdoing? I mean, like, I don't know. What's the scandal here? Is that
I really don't know.
He had extramarital affairs. I mean, like, did anybody watch wrestling in the 90s? It was kind of like plain as day. So okay, but it is what it is. What else, Double A? Was there more news? I mean, I know we talked Game of Thrones. That's going to be great. I'm looking forward to House of the Dragon. I'm looking, you know, I haven't been that keen on it based on what I've seen, but I know it's one of those things I bet once I watch it, it's going to be like, number one, it looks great.
This one's just like all Targaryen. So,
excuse me, yeah.
That's going to be interesting to see how they ran things, you know, while they were in power.
In the time when there was like more dragons than just, you know, the ones Dany had in the I guess we could say the Game of Thrones proper. So that'll be cool, and I would love to see the Jon Snow stuff.
Yeah, I got to talk to our buddy Hoti Bear a few days ago, and he was telling me that the offer is really good. It's pretty much how The Godfather got made. Oh. He said that show is pretty fucking legit.
Nice, and that's on Netflix,
Paramount, or I think it's Paramount.
Paramount's one of the ones I think I don't have, but
one of those two.
Okay.
It's not on Netflix. For sure it's not on Netflix. But it's called The Offer. It's pretty much how Francis Ford Coppola had to fight for Al Pacino to get the movie made, you know, and all this kind of stuff, you know, so he says it was great. He says it kept him entertained, you know, so.
Yeah, and speaking, you know, Joe says HEB is on the south side, and Joe being here, he says he's getting some Phantom Bride brewski. Very nice, Joe. I know you supporting the Deftones beer greatly there. We're drinking some good old Double A Dos Equis, and I'm having a Pacifico right now. But Joe, your partner in podcasting, Lucky the Dork Dad, suggested the movie Hustle, which you saw as also
great fucking movie. Mm-hmm. If you like basketball, if you like a story kind of like a Rocky-ish.
Mm-hmm. So an Adam Sandler serious role.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. He's doing more and more of that.
He does a great job. The whole movie is really good. Like, we just saw it because my wife loves Adam Sandler. That's like her favorite. Mm-hmm. Right, and she'll watch anything with him. Like even this fucking movie.
I was about to ask you a serious role.
Yeah, she loves the dude. So I was like, okay, cool, we'll watch it. I like basketball. It's basketball. Okay, cool. And Great fucking movie. Great.
Nice.
A lot of NBA players, a lot of executives that come out and said it's really good. It's really accurate. So I was like, okay, cool.
Okay, very cool.
So, yeah.
I wasn't. Joe says he still got to watch, as do I, Joe. So
watch it. It's great.
Check it out.
You're not gonna. You both like crying. You'll cry in this movie.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, we definitely do enjoy a good cry, Joe and I. Double A. Let's see what else.
Golden State.
I was about to say, speaking of basketball, right? I guess
Golden
we have
State
new basketball
Warriors.
NBA champions, right?
4-time champ for Stephon Curry, for Draymond Green, for Klay Thompson, for Iguodala, and a 4-time winning coach in Steve Kerr now.
Kerr, yeah, he's trying to catch Pop.
He has 9 rings total as a player and a coach now.
He's already got him beat.
Well, yeah, so you know what? I thought Boston was going to do it. They just sucked. It was like the more they lost confidence, the more Golden State got confidence.
Yeah. Obviously, the superstars on the Warriors were known, but who were the stars on that Celtics team?
See, that's the thing. It was just a really good squad, just a really good, decent
Cinderella
squad,
type story,
kind of. They have like Jason Tatum, but we saw the finals. There's not really a superstar. Not like where they have like a Curry, where Curry was just banging them. You know, so
they were running up that hill like Kate Bush, right? Yeah, man. Well, I guess congrats to the Golden State Warriors, or as I like to say, the Pop College of Basketball. Steve Kerr.
Curry finally has his Finals MVP.
There you go. Finally, he hadn't got it previously, right? Let's see. Justice, don't necessarily like crying, but a good one every now and then works definitely. Curry is the new GOAT type player. Glad he did it.
I'm glad
without
he did
KD again. Yeah,
but you know what? He did that the first time. That's why I don't understand why they're giving him a lot of shit when Durant was there, because they did it before, and they just proved again that they don't need Durant again. And Durant's suffering in fucking Brooklyn right now. So
yeah, where he belongs to be suffering. He says,
yeah, fuck him.
And the Warriors, you know what? I wish them no more continued success. So
I don't care.
Good. Let them stop there.
Curry and Thompson really don't talk shit.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I mean, there's no other fucking team there anyways.
Well, how many titles does the franchise have, though?
I think they counted one when they were called like
the ABA?
The Philadelphia Warriors, which I thought it should have gone to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I thought it was about
Philadelphia.
The city. Right.
Yeah. Because like Oklahoma doesn't have the Seattle banner up there.
Yeah.
So I think they have 5.
Huh.
5 titles. It's kind of like with the Lakers, like Minneapolis. They won 5 when they were in Minneapolis. So.
And they count those.
Of course they do. I mean, because I was like, oh, it makes sense that they're called the Minneapolis Lakers. You know, I was like, it makes sense because they were in Minneapolis.
Sounds like a bunch of bullshit if the city didn't.
It's like when
title.
Utah took the name Jazz. It's like, what the fuck? Utah doesn't have any Jazz.
That just doesn't make any sense.
Joe says, I thought Curry's first or second year against the Spurs, he grew a lot as a player. Oh, man. Yeah, we kicked his ass for a little bit, a short span of time while Tim was there. But, man, you can see where Golden State was going to be an up-and-comer in those little series. And
the man can shoot. Best shooter at Double A?
You know what? My brother says he is. He finally just came out and said, he was like, this guy is just, he can shoot anywhere. He can shoot half court and fucking make them. You know?
Now he's got lots of hardware now, huh? 4?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that's nice.
He's got back-to-back MVPs. He's got this finals MVP now. He's got an all-star MVP.
Who won in his previous years?
It was Iguodala. I can't believe it. He won the first year, and then Durant won him the next 2.
Wow.
So this is his first time winning it. So
interesting.
This was kind of like the exclamation mark.
Yeah.
Finally. Now he has that.
It's kind of funny, though, right? You know, guys like Steph have to do that the way that Kobe had to do it without Shaq. There's always got to be these proving points. LeBron had to do it with Cleveland.
No, but see, the thing is that people forget that first one, there was no superstar. It was him and Klay Thompson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they were homegrown, traded players.
Yeah, true.
I mean, so they did it, and then Durant just went just to get a fucking ring, which he did. He got 2 of them.
Yeah.
You know, and then he was like, okay, see ya.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, he's not even there. They won without his ass. So,
I don't know. These guys do a lot of shit now. It just seems like, well, we won't talk about it right now. What Master Obi-Wan said to to his then Padawan, but it was kind of like, they seem a little obsessed with just winning.
But I am ready, Master.
Yeah. It's almost a great segue, right? Double A. Unless we have anything else to cover.
Let me see.
In the world of comic books, in the world of movie or TV news.
Was there anything? How's that Miss Marvel show been?
Oof. I just watched a little bit of the first episode and fell asleep. Okay. I was getting a little bit.
I thought maybe you would have caught up.
Yeah, I was getting a little bit of heat on the Friday Night Faithful group, the group that is the co-part to our podcast, which is called Just Another Friday Night, in case anybody gets those two confused. The podcast is Just Another Friday Night. We just happen to call our group the Friday Night Faithful. I don't know. But anyway, so I just saw a meme. I thought it was funny because it's, the female from the boys, Kimiko, fighting against Stormfront or whatever, but they put the name of the boys on Kimiko.
I commented on that one.
Yeah, people were kind of like, oh, they're different and one's for kids. And I was like, I know, I just thought it was a good meme.
No, and I agree with you. I know where you're going with that, and I agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, for us, it's that other one didn't keep me engaged.
I know what
you're not giving it a shot, are you? You're like,
no, because I just don't care. I don't care. I keep saying I don't care about the Captain Marvel character, period. I don't care even if it was a male that was fucking playing Captain Marvel. I don't care about the fucking Captain Marvel character. Now there's talking about doing Thunderbolts. I don't care about fucking Thunderbolts. I want to see fucking Wolverine. I want to see a Wolverine series. I want to see Fantastic Four.
The X-Men.
I want to see some fucking heavyweights. I'm tired of seeing... seriously, I am getting tired of this now. I'm getting tired of fucking...
Do you agree with what a lot of people are now saying, Double A, is that, in the post-Endgame era, Marvel is not... They're not, There's a great meme, and it shows this cow, and the cow is, so skinny, and it shows Disney going to the cow, and the cow's named Marvel. It's like, give me more, and it's I got nothing left.
No. So I think they're just kind of buying time until, they got Fantastic Four. They said they're working on it now. Mm-hmm. I think now it's just they're giving us enough material,
content,
content, so you won't forget, so you won't forget the Marvel product.
Sure.
Okay, and then I think once he got to plan, Feige has a plan like he did with the Phase 1 shit, where it led all the way to Thanos. Mm-hmm. I think that's what he's trying to do here. He's keeping the Fantastic Four away. He's keeping the X-Men away. But man, at the same time though, it's kind of like She-Hulk, Miss Marvel. It's kind of I like She-Hulk. She's fine, but man, a whole series dedicated to her. I'm kind of like, fuck, Miss Marvel, another one. Again, this is the fourth Miss Marvel. Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of like, ugh. Then Thunderbolts are coming out. I'm like, I really don't want to see them. I don't want to see any of these. I don't care about these fucking characters. I don't buy their comic books. I'm not going to watch the fucking show.
I'm slightly interested in the Thunderbolts only for the fact that I guess I know that was a big deal at a time, but that big reveal is kind of out there. It's kind of like, well, you're going to go with that when that big reveal is... I mean, I guess most people know it, but even if you don't, I mean, it's like... I don't know. If anything, Marvel has proven to me that they can make certain stuff cool.
But then it's kind of weird because it's DC's kind of even doing the same thing. I love Black Adam. Don't get me wrong. Sure. I love Black Adam. But, you're giving us a Black Adam film. You're giving us Peacemaker, which is great. But still, it's kind of like Peacemaker. Mm-hmm. Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, hey, where's Superman at? Where's Green Lantern? Give me fucking Green Lantern already.
Yeah. At least a good treatment.
And then Flash, that idiot, keeps getting himself in more and more trouble that you're just pushing Flash away more and more. It's man, are we ever going to see a fucking Keaton come out?
Yeah, that's what we're really holding out for. And I also think too, Double A, it's kind of the reason why we're longing for the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and Wolverine is because we're thinking to ourselves, they did such a great job with, Iron Man, Cap, the Avengers, and leading up to that Endgame story. We're like, we want the Marvel treatment on the characters that have been slighted all this time. We had to deal with the Fox shit. It's now Marvel has you guys, so give us that good juicy Marvel property with the characters that we love.
Man, I want to see Namor. Give me Namor, man. It's kind of like shit. And King is already so long ago. I kind of already forgotten. I'm like, okay, where is he at?
Yeah, yeah. See, it's so much content. It's hard to not
But then they keep giving us this bullshit. I'm like,
yeah.
It's like you said. It's kind of like they want to represent everybody in every fucking show, and it's just kind of like, man, enough. We're comic book fans. Give us the fucking comic book heroes that we want. Give us your popular titles. I mean, is Miss Marvel in the fucking top 10 of your popular comic?
Even like with Blade, like they tease us with the Mahershala Ali thing. You know, now Blade again, not a huge comic book success, but obviously popularized because of the movie.
He has enough material where people know the Blade character at least.
People got on board for Blade.
Joe says it wasn't a good meme. Miss Marvel is good. Has Spider-Man tie-in. And then he says, I want more Batman. No, I don't want more Batman.
And Joe, is earlier, in the group you mentioned, like what my nephew watched something like The Boys. No, of course not. But I want to know, are you watching Ms. Marvel with your daughter? Is she enjoying it?
And you know what? Honestly, when I was watching Jessica Jones, I was watching with my daughter, and I was kind of like, holy shit, I can't really see this show with my daughter because of all the fucking that happens.
Yeah. What does Luke Cage call it? Coffee. Having coffee.
I was like, holy fuck. I was like, turn around.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Joe says Namor is coming.
And look, if you ever had read The Boys, the comic, it doesn't go overboard like the show does.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can kind of compare it to any of the comic book shows, honestly. I honestly do believe that's the best adapted show from a comic.
It's kind of like with Spawn, right? Spawn got HBO. The animated series was more dark than the comic, right? The blood, the sex, the cursing. It's like I don't think all that was in the early Todd issues.
I don't remember those. I know I would have. For me, reading it at that time, I would have been like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't like necessarily mature content. I think that there was it had some elements, but I think HBO took it to another level in that animated series. Let's see. Hey Charles, look at your phone. I just saying something. Oh, that's Jason. Jason said, "Yeah, good stuff there, man." Jason always asks us what's going on this weekend. So he says here, Damian Chapa meet and greet at Trader's Village, famous from Blood In, Blood Out.
Okay.
Who did he play double A in that one? Miklo.
Main guy.
So, Joe, I know you and Luck are some huge fans of that franchise. Will the Now Watch This crew be out there checking that out? Thank you for that share, Jason. We appreciate it, man. People are always looking for what's going on this weekend. I think we have a full weekend, unfortunately, for us with stuff going on.
Yes.
But, hey, if you get a chance to check it out, Trader's Village always has some really great stuff going on. I also know that I think it's on Sunday from 10 to 1, San Antonio's own Nene, a.k.a. Angel, will be out there at Trader's Village doing a meet and greet.
What the fuck?
I don't know if he's got something official with them going on or he's just telling his fans he'll be out there.
Wow.
So, again, I mean, we could set up a meet and greet there and not tell anyone and just say it's a meet and greet or whatever. Not saying that Nene's doing
That's true.
that.
But I know he has exploded more and more. So
wow, he's doing the thing, man. So guys, if you want to meet a Nene or Miklo, this weekend is the time to do it over at Trader's Village. And they got a lot of other cool shit out there too.
Trader's always has a lot of cool people.
Yeah, and cool shops. I mean, I love the different. You can find
myself and Roxanna have met Ray Park at Trader's Village. So.
Yeah. We met who is the gal double A from Sleepaway Camp? Her name escapes.
Felissa Rose.
Felissa Rose, yeah. So there's always got cool stuff going on out there.
Yeah, we've met Lou Ferrigno. That was
Lou Ferrigno was at Traders. Yeah, absolutely. So very, very cool. Definitely something to look into to do this weekend if you want to get your pop culture fix going on. I got nothing else, double A.
That's about it.
News or noteworthy. So we'll go ahead and move, guys, right into our topic for the night.
So this wasn't originally going to be the topic, but then me and CM were kind of talking about it more and more. And we had talked about doing this one as an episode, but we didn't think we were going to do it right away. We had loved this. At the time, it's Star Wars, the Clone Wars. The 2000, you said 2003, right?
2003, yeah.
So this was done during the Samurai Jack arc, and George Lucas approved it. It was set between episode 2, and it was going to lead. That was the thing, right, CM? It was going to lead directly into episode 3, and it was going to introduce characters that was going to be made official in episode 3. So, hearing the news for us Star Wars geeks, we're like, whoa. And we have to watch this. And then the other badass thing was these were only going to be 3-minute episodes.
Yeah, 3-minute
episodes. It was going to be from 6 to like 6:03. And that was it. And we were blown away.
Yeah.
On almost every episode, we were just like blown away by it.
I don't know if I'm going to sound dated, AA, but like in 03 was kind of like not everybody had a computer in their house still.
No.
I think you guys did.
We had barely got one in 01.
And I know we didn't. Like, I would have to access a computer like somewhere.
We still had phones with the wires. I mean...
Yeah, I would have to access a computer from like a library or school. And I know that they were saying like, oh, it's going to come out. And then the next day it'll be like online. But I was like, like back then it was like... It's super.
It wasn't like a thing like it is now.
It's like, how do I get online? Yeah. Like, how do I see it online? Where do I go? Yeah. What's the website? Mm-hmm. We were calling it the World Wide Web. You know what I mean? Shit like that. So it was like, in my mind, you had to catch it then. It's like, we got to catch it while it's on or whatever. You know what I mean? So I was, desperate to catch it on. I think I might have even been dating myself more, but maybe been trying to tape it on videotape, on VHS. Because it was like we had to see it because again they were saying that it was going to be the bridge between the two. It was super exciting. I was a huge Samurai Jack fan. I know that Friday Night, a friend of the show, Marquise, was a Samurai Jack fan. So for us, what I always loved about that Samurai Jack show, AA, what it was like, your classic kind of like lone samurai, but he was, they did this with like a time travel aspect. He's thrown out of time and he's kind of fighting his way back, whatever. And the action sequences were always really well done. And I thought the writing was really tight.
It was big. It was a big hit for Cartoon Network.
It was huge, yeah. Created by, and I made sure to study his name.
Genndy?
Genndy. It's Genndy. Tartakovsky. So Genndy Tartakovsky. I think he also had something to do with the Powerpuff Girls, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably. So, it looked like that same one.
Yeah, like those action sequences in those shows are like outstanding or whatever. Like even if you're kind of like, the plot's kind of thin, you're like, man, the fighting and the action is just blows your mind.
Are you talking about Star Wars or the Samurai Jack?
Samurai Jack, okay. Samurai Jack, and the Powerpuff Girls. The fighting was really good.
Okay.
But I absolutely loved Samurai Jack, adored it when it recently came out with like a final 6 episodes. I watched it because I was like, oh my gosh, it's like the end of that, story. I own like a 6. I don't own the whole series, but I own like a 6 episode DVD that I have that I bought because it had one of my most favorite episodes on it. Where like Jack was always in these like moral conundrums too, whatever. So he had to like figure his way out of stuff. But for me to hear that Tartakovsky was going to do the treatment for the Star Wars, I was like, man, that's great. And of course, like I said, George Lucas had come out and talked about it, and it was like, got to see it, right? Got to see it. So do you remember watching it, AA, live as it was coming out?
Yes.
And if you're watching us on Spotify on the video, you're watching us on YouTube, I'm going to show you some stuff I had in my old collection from that series, whatever, some of the figures from that time in that series and some of the art there that you can see. It was very, very cool. I even looked for these on eBay and I didn't find them. So maybe if any of our collecting friends are out there, they can tell us some what's up about those. But yeah, you said you remember watching them live, AA?
Oh yeah, this is the time I was just totally into Star Wars, and I was buying everything, the toys, I was buying the comics, anything that they said was going to lead into Episode 3.
Right.
Anything. I was all there. I have comics from that 2-year run.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. I was just, give it to me. Seeing these over again, I was just like, wow, it's just so much good stuff. The beginning, it's just action-packed. Right off the bat. It's Yoda leading a whole army.
And I remember thinking that, too. I was like, man, it made, like, all we'd ever really known about the troopers was like stormtroopers, and we were like, man, they suck. Like they were like the biggest scrubs or whatever. So I was like, in that very first episode, I was like, wow, they're badass.
These are the clone troopers.
Yeah, the clone troopers, and they're like really militarized, and they like were very like using the signals and like diving into droid tanks, blowing them up. I was like, holy shit, like these guys are really skilled and badass. They had the little red and blue accents. You know what I mean? So. What people don't, I think, know or remember about this series, because obviously now, after 2008, that series is beloved. Yeah. And I'm not taking away from it, because I like it too from a lot of what I've seen of it. I just wish that, because we now know that this series from '03 is no longer considered canon.
Which is fucking crazy because it leads directly into episode 3.
And I think that there's as smart as Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are and the powers that be at Star Wars are, there's easily they could pick and choose what they wanted out of these episodes and splice them into what we now know, because you get so much in these episodes that you don't get in the Clone Wars.
No, and it was so good. So it was almost like about 2 hours and 14 minutes altogether. It was about 2 hours and 14 minutes, and it's a really damn good movie. It's almost like a good 2.5 movie, episode like 2.5.
Yeah,
it's perfect. It's great. It shows you all the worlds that are being invaded, all the worlds where they're doing battle. You get to see so many different Jedis and their skill sets. You get to see Obi-Wan and Anakin, what made them a really good team. You get to see Dooku making these alliances with all the Outer Rim worlds. You see Palpatine manipulating as Dark Sidious and Supreme Chancellor. Manipulating the war. Slowly getting rid of both sides.
Right.
Getting rid of the Trade Federation and getting rid of the Jedis at the same time. Getting rid of his biggest enemies that he's going to have. Yeah. He's making them fight each other. And then by the time the dust is settled, man, it's wide open for him to just take over with no fucking, no fucking pressure from any side.
Absolutely, man. Some of the things I wrote down here in my notes in my rewatch was, number one, you get that great Mace Windu episode, right? Man. Everyone loved Mace. Mace is so talked about. And if you don't read the comics or whatever...
We saw that when me and my brother were just blown away by it.
I mean, this shows why this guy is like a Jedi Master and like... Am I right, Double A? And again, I went out of my way to personally like try to invite some... I asked, do we have some real hardcore Star Wars people join us today live on YouTube or Facebook? Because I got questions. And I want to ask the real hard Star Wars... we consider ourselves hardcore Star Wars fans and lovers, but we know that there are even deeper guys that read all the books, all the old stuff. I talked to a guy today at work or whatever, and I was like, hey, someone told me that you're like a savant of Star Wars. And he admitted, he goes, oh, no, I'm not. He goes, but I have a flash drive with like downloaded comics from the 80s. I've read a lot of them. He said, I've read the old books. He said he read the original Thrawn book. And he was like, I loved it. He's like, but he goes, I am not up on some of the more current stuff. He goes, I haven't seen all the Clone Wars. He goes, I didn't know what a Grand Inquisitor was. And I said, okay, you're kind of like us. Like some of the stuff is like, we know a bulk, but there's going to be things that fall through the cracks. And he didn't know about this series. I mentioned it to him. And he was like, no, I'm not familiar with it. He goes, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it on Disney. And I said, cool, man. Joe says Mace is a bad motherfucker. Yeah, no doubt. Samuel L. Jackson, right? But, man, you don't really get to see his power too much in the movies. Yes. But, man, that great episode in this Clone Wars series
Speed,
from 03.
Strength, force power, saber.
Pretty much, I mean, again, like I said, Double A.
You saw right, he's number 2.
Right. We know that Yoda is the Grandmaster, but are there other Grandmasters? I don't know. But if there was one, I would say that Mace had to be up there.
Yeah, because I was like, wow, who could beat this guy? Like, after seeing, these episodes, I was like, well,
let's think about it. They find out there's a Dark Lord of the Sith running things in episode 3. Who do they send? They send Mace with a squad, and he's the only one that lasted briefly. But in this episode, in the Clone Wars 03, he's just like against like a droid like
army,
army, battalion, like a freaking huge army with a huge machine that's like crushing stuff. And again, this is what's great about this Clone Wars series. As much in the Samurai Jack style, it's like it lets the visuals do the talking, right?
I love the sound.
No dialogue.
I love the sound of running. Yes. I love the sound of the punching. Yeah. I love all that. The force power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he is kicking major fucking ass, man. It's badass. And you're just thinking to yourself, like, man, how could the Jedis have gotten overdone by these, when it's like they were just like, the droids were like nothing to them. You know what I mean? They were just wiping them out.
But then we got to remember there's not a lot like Mace.
Right, right. And that these guys are, the ones we really love that they focus on in Star Wars are really high level Jedis. Like pretty much like the absolute peak of Jedis.
Candace is here. She says, there has been other Grandmasters throughout the Order's history. None really have the prestige or popularity of Yoda.
Ah, wonderful. Thank you, Candace, for joining. Candace, a good friend comes over to us from Invincible Comics and more. And she says that her husband is a huge Star Wars fan. And I personally invited her and him to join tonight to hopefully answer some questions for me, which I have more. So, Yeah, so one of my other questions, Double A, is like, obviously we said already that they don't consider this Clone Wars series from 03 canon. One of my big questions was kind of like, what are the things that didn't add up? Like that didn't cross over. I'm gonna guess it has to be from that second half, because the first half is Anakin still as a Padawan,
Yes.
that season 1
Yes.
or whatever, and then we get to season 2. Then he's already become a
That's
knight.
what I'm saying. He's already married to Padme. He already has his arm cut off. They show where he becomes a Jedi Knight. I'm like, what is it that you don't want it to be canon? Like, what do you want it changed?
I was just telling my sister, guys, and this is further down in my notes, but let me get to it in order. So the next thing I have here is that the introduction to Asajj Ventress. This has become like a beloved character, right?
Yeah,
like they make her
time.
lightsaber replicas, and some people are like, I've had people ask me, they're like, when I see it in stores, they're like, whose is that? And I'm like, that's Asajj, and they're like, who's that? And I'm like, you wouldn't really know her unless you watched the Clone Wars.
It was during this period
or
that was
Clone
just
Wars.
that was just like super popular.
Yeah, and this is, I think, where she first appeared, was in this 03 series. And I mean, I don't think they call her by name in that or
They
whatever.
don't. They
but
never
the
call her.
figure's name is on there. Like I said, in this figure I have this set, her name is on the back. I mean, you can see her name, and there was figures, but it was kind of one of those scenarios where it's like, I guess if you didn't read something about it, you wouldn't have seen her name, because they don't call her by name. Candace comes back again. She says, I think it's because the Clone Wars show came out before the Disney purchase. After the purchase, they made everything mostly non-canon, I assume, to wipe the slate clean.
Yeah, but I mean, this was kind of stupid that they did this with this, because Lucas had, again, made it a point to saying this is connected to
The
episode 2,
bridge.
and it's going to go into episode 3.
And again, it's just note to take nothing away from the Clone Wars, because it is great, except that movie, which kind of sucked, agreeably so. Because here's what kind of brought all this to the forefront, right? Double A. My nephew wanted to do a watch through. He started playing the Star Wars Lego game, and he loved it. And he was asking me all these questions, and I said this, and he was kind of like, "Man, I want to see that. That sounds cool." But he said, "I want to watch," and the Disney Plus has it there now, like in chronological order. So we watched episode 1, 2, and now he's like, "Okay, now I'm ready to watch the Clone Wars." Well, I noticed that it starts on episode 1 of the Clone Wars, and I was like, wait, there was a movie that came out that was called Star Wars the Clone Wars. That's when they first drew them in that style. And I said, that's where they're like hunting for the baby Jabba and all that. And I said, why isn't that first? And I said, Mijo, I think you got to watch that first. So then we start watching that. I said, and he goes, well, it doesn't say that that's the order. And I said, I know, but I'm telling you as a Star Wars fan that this came first. And I said, because otherwise you're not going to see how he meets Ahsoka. Because that shows in that movie, Anakin and Ahsoka meet.
Yeah.
So I said, let's watch that first. So we start watching that. We get about halfway through, and I said, you know what? You should watch the old Clone Wars cartoon. He said, there's another cartoon? I said, yeah, and it's done in a different style. And I said, because there's other stuff in that. What I remembered, and I was wrong, but I remembered that's where Anakin, I thought, got the scar.
I thought so too.
They don't actually show that in there. But there was other stuff in there that I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, of course, introduction to Asajj. This is the first time we see Grievous, and this was part of what was teased.
Yes.
They said, you're going to see a new villain that's going to be in the movie. So we were all like, oh, shit, we got to see him first, you know what I mean, before the movie comes out. And not like in the movie, where he's kind of,
he's weakened.
Yeah, he's not super badass.
No, but in this cartoon, when he first came out, you're like, me and my brother looked at each other and we're like, how the fuck is anyone going to beat this guy?
This guy's collecting lightsabers, beating Jedis. You have one of the Jedi, I think she's a council member, I think Shakti. Yeah. She says, no one's ever fended off 5 Jedis at once. And you're like, 5 Jedis? Like, what the fuck? Like, that doesn't sound right. And when they're showing him, he's kicking major ass, man. I mean, he's using his hands and his feet. He's kind of like a spider almost.
Yeah, he's doing everything. He's like, it's very unorthodox.
And he's robotic, so he can like spin the saber super fast.
And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they feel disoriented. You can even see, like, Coyote Mundi, Jedi Master on the Council is like, like, chase him down. We got to kill him. If we don't, he's going to, like, kill more Jedi. It's like, what the fuck? So there's that introduction. You know what I mean? The character Durge. Durge was this really cool character. That
very cool
like,
looking. I thought it was super cool the way he was leading the charge, the old cavalry kind of style.
Yeah, with the big lance, you know what I mean? And he looked badass. I'm gonna post it in the group, the Friday Night Faithful group. But we just watched a really funny honest trailers about this cartoon or whatever, and it's so funny, the things they say. Honest trailers are always very honest in their funny way. But it's cool that they did one even on this show, because I think it shows that like a lot of people did love it and it was really good. But they talk about like Durge and like Asajj looking much cooler and being cooler than like Dooku, who is like kind of the main baddie of Attack of the Clones, and then in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith.
And I've said this in our prequel episode. I love the Dooku character. I think he was perfect for what the Emperor needed. He needed a super strong Jedi, but that was also aristocratic and very, that he can do the diplomatic stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that was his purpose.
Absolutely.
He was never going to be the fucking apprentice.
Right.
He just needed to get the Emperor what he needed. That was his role. And he was perfect.
Yeah.
Strong fucking Jedi. We saw him take on Anakin and Obi-Wan twice, Yeah. The only guy that Obi-Wan really couldn't beat.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the one we always say. There's always one guy got your number, right?
That one guy.
But visually though, right? Double A, wouldn't it have been a treat to see Asajj on camera or Durge or
Durge would have been. Cool. I would have been more excited about Ventress.
And the way that they I felt like they led us with Grievous was like, oh, this is going to be the main kind of baddie up to a point in Revenge of the Sith or whatever, because how touted he was, you know what I mean? Then we were kind of like, oh, this is what they're doing with you. This comment again comes from Candace. She says they really nerfed Grievous in the movie and the new Clone Wars show. He was way OP in the OP meaning overpowered in the original Clone Wars show. Yeah, definitely they did make him like that or whatever, but it made you have this sense of fear where you were like, oh shit, what are they going to do, whatever, where it makes you think you're going to need someone like an Obi-Wan and Anakin to kind of take them
but even though like Obi-Wan kind of like kicks his ass pretty easy, it was kind of okay,
and it wasn't even like he was kind of like it. Sometimes when the Jedis kick someone's ass, it's like they kick their ass and they're not doing like something extra cool that they would like that you would expect them to do in order to accomplish this. It's like, okay, like, sometimes when Yoda kicks ass, it's because he's like doing something, like, oh shit, that's a real Force mastery right there. You know what I mean? We're not going to talk anything about Obi-Wan, guys, because we're going to talk about that next week. Please join us then if you want to hear us super geek gush about that, because we have nothing negative to say. I might have one or two things, but they're minor. But yeah, so again, we famously see like, kind of throughout, the movies, Anakin and Obi-Wan kind of at ends. You know what I mean? Like, but one of the reasons for the Clone Wars, I think, was to kind of show them, their brotherhood, their love for one another, how they were so close, why the fall was so tragic. And the first time we see this, because of course, like I said in the write-up, we hear this line from Obi-Wan about the Clone Wars to Luke in A New Hope. And I know you said it didn't mean that much to you, Double A.
At the time, because I was a kid. So it was kind of like, that kind of always went by my head.
Right. To me, it was one of those things that for a long time was one of those mysteries where it was like how did Anakin Skywalker, when we learned his name, how did he get in the armor? And then it was rumored like oh well, they say Obi-Wan put him in the armor and that it's in like some book or some comic.
And so I was kind of like, holy shit.
Yeah, so to me the Clone Wars was like that, because I was like, well, what was the Clone Wars? Like, what was it?
I think what made it cool for me was when they would play it in the trailer for episode 2. They would play his words.
Yes.
And I was kind of like, holy shit.
Yeah, very badass, because you're like, oh man, they're mentioning the Clone Wars. So like I said in the write-up, I was geeked for this, because I was like, we're going to finally see that thing. And you need that. You really do need that. You need it because if you try to make Anakin's fall without seeing his brotherhood with Obi-Wan, only them bickering, it doesn't make sense. You don't feel it as much. But man, and again, all credit to the new Clone Wars show, because that's where everyone says they love that General Anakin so much, and that even Hayden Christensen watched it for Obi-Wan, which apparently the voice actor was super geeked about.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, hell yeah.
But let me tell you what's in this 03 Clone Wars. You get Obi-Wan, the council's meeting, and they're talking about their forces are depleted. What can they do? They're running out of knights, especially with Grievous, who's cutting a swath through them, right? And they're like, shit. And Obi-Wan goes to bat for his Padawan, right? Double A. He says, may I suggest that we promote my Padawan Anakin to the level of knight. He says because
this is way worse than what the trials would have been.
This is way worse than the trials. He goes, he experienced a trial of the flesh with Count Dooku. They said of the what was the other one? It was a trial of the flesh, and then it was a trial. The spirit was the one he didn't do, but the other one was of skill when he fought the Ventress.
Yes,
of course, which is again at the end of season 1, and it's great where he's like, kind of a little bit of rage.
Lets the dark side flow.
Yeah, he's because she's badass with the Force and the saber, but then he loses his saber to her, but then he forces. Force takes one of hers, and then they go at it. He's holding the red saber. It's kind of like this moment. You're like, holy shit, on a cliff, the big red moon. Yep. I'm like, come on, man, this shit is cinematic as fuck. Like, I can see why this show won 4 fucking Emmys. Yeah. Jeremy's in the house. What's up, Jeremy?
What's up, Jeremy?
We appreciate you being here, brother. We're talking all things Clone Wars, Jeremy, the 2003 cartoon from Cartoon Network. Man, Jeremy, it's on Disney Plus. If you got it, brother, give it a watch because it is something super special. I guarantee you, you won't want to sleep on it.
Yeah, like I said, it's only about total, 2 hours.
In total, minutes. 2 hours and 30. Yeah, and again, I feel as though you could easily grab some of those episodes and put them into the canon, no doubt. That Mace episode is like a standalone, and it's a showcase of his power. Okay, so next thing, right after that, Double A. Again, I'm just hitting these points because I know that you probably agree with me. Not only does it show that awesome moment of Obi-Wan going to bat for Anakin, right? Like, let's make him a knight or whatever. Well, then, the next thing is that, in between we have a cool moment or whatever, right? Where it's like, he meets up with Padme or whatever in this alley, and he's clearly frustrated about having to sneak around, but C-3PO shows up, and he's like, you look different, 3PO, and he's like, oh, it must be my new gold plates, whatever. He's like, gold plates, let's see it or whatever, right? So, it's like, we never really know how he goes from being this, fucking slave robot in different coverings. Yeah, that Anakin built, to having gold plates. Well, he's in the service of Padme, so he says, if you got to be presentable when working for a senator, it's kind of like, oh wow, the iconic gold C-3PO that we know. And at the moment he shows him in this cartoon, Anakin says, impressive, most impressive, which is a very Darth Vader-y statement, So then right after that, he gets called to the council, right? And again, I'm going over this, like my favorite moment. So I'm going over this moment as I love it so much because I literally, me, Double A, doesn't take a lot. But
I've mentioned this on a few of the podcasts. I love this scene.
I got fucking choked, and I'd forgotten about it. I hadn't seen it with my eyes in a while. And he gets called there, and Obi-Wan's like, "You're late." And then he's like, I forget what he tells him or whatever, but he's like, well, he tells him something, whatever, right? He goes into a room. All the council lights up their sabers. They're up in the air, you're like, oh shit, and then right there Yoda, he's like, tells him to come forward or whatever. And I wrote it down because I thought it was awesome. One of my favorite knighting scenes ever is Brienne of Tarth. I talked about it on our Game of Thrones episode. I love that. She gives me chills. You know what I mean? But he says to him, Anakin Skywalker, by the right of the council, by the will of the Force, dub thee I do Jedi, Knight of the Republic. Yoda says this to Anakin, and then he sabers off his Padawan braid. Yeah. And you're like, holy shit. He's like, damn, we saw Anakin become a Jedi Knight. Yeah. That's fucking
because we always said, right? How is he not a Jedi Master with him and Obi-Wan doing all these dangerous missions? Hunting Dooku, hunting Grievous. Right. How was he never made a Jedi Master?
Exactly.
And we're like, what the fuck?
but certain moments, you feel are so key to the character to see that. And then what's next is so great. The next thing you see is C-3PO going into Padme's chambers and handing her the braid, and she puts it in that box where the little necklace is. Yeah. Now that little box of necklace came into play in canon recently, right? In that Vader issue. Where he goes to look for her. Yes. He runs into the Amidalans, her sympathizers or whatever that are fighting for her. And I was just telling my sister about that comic because I saw a TikTok about that comic, and she's like, "That comic sounds cool." And I was like, "Yeah, I bought that because me and you had talked about it." But man, how sweet would it have been if in that box you could still see the braid as well? Because to me, that's a great moment, the knighting of Anakin Skywalker, and then a knighting ceremony. I never seen another knighting ceremony.
Yeah, they never really show when they get the rank of Jedi Knight what they do.
Yeah,
we never get to see that kind of stuff. So,
Candace, I don't know if you're still here, you and your husband, but I hope you are. Are there other knighting ceremonies that get shown or talked about in the comics, books, or maybe other Rebels or the actual Clone Wars?
I'm trying to think. Was there?
Because I can't remember seeing it, but what a cool moment to see.
Because he promotes Obi-Wan like right away in episode 1. Remember, he was like, "Jedi Knight, you are." Remember when he's like talking to him about training Anakin? Right. That's all it was for Obi-Wan.
That's all it was. Yeah.
You have attained the rank of Jedi Knight.
Yeah, but it's not like an on Coruscant with the Council knighting, which is pretty fucking amazing in my opinion.
Yeah. So, or maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So that was my next question there about that. And then, the line that Obi-Wan gives him right before it happens, too. He says, Master and Padawan, we've been Master and Padawan long enough. Now it's time that we become brothers. And that's what he says. And then Anakin's like, Master? Like, what? Like, what are you saying? And so you're like, oh, shit. Like, this is the moment where he's telling him, like, you're getting called up, man. Like, you're getting, you're going to be a made guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's pretty amazing. Candace says, my husband said that he has mainly seen it, Star Wars video games that he has played. Yeah, I did see some reference to that they, in some of the games that they'll do, like, a knighting. I don't know if it occurs like this one, but, man, again, very cinematic. And that's what this Genndy Tartakovsky does so well or whatever, is make these things super cinematic. I mean, the guy would be an amazing director in live action, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, these are almost like storyboards. Mm-hmm. Each scene, it's really cool. It's very theatrical.
Yeah.
Very, very theatrical. And again, the way they do the stormtroopers, it's very old school battles. Mm-hmm. Very, the cavalry, the cannons.
The way they move their hands, like, okay, two over here, like, hold, you know what I mean? They do a fist for hold. Yeah. It's like, oh shit, these guys are like,
like, it was great. It was great seeing these again. And when they even like Obi-Wan with the stormtrooper outfit, but he still has like his robe, so it's Obi-Wan. That's always really cool because like there was like Alexander always wanted you to know where he was. He would wear like something special. I forgot what it was. Like Alexander Great.
Really?
He would wear something special so you knew it was him.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I did not know that.
That's cool when you kind of like your leader is kind of like, I'm here and it's him.
Yeah,
so,
very cool, man. Yeah. And Obi-Wan too. I mean, he's famous kind of like for his sassiness, right? Like that. It's this. You see more of that in this as well. Yeah. It's really, really great. Yeah.
And whoever did the voice acting, they did a really great job of kind of mimicking, Ewan McGregor,
right? So. What I thought was funny, I only wrote down the names of the guys that did the voices of Anakin, but
my brother was asking me, he was like, "Was there anybody big on this?" I go, "I don't think there was anyone big."
So in this series, the only one that comes like from the movies is Anthony Daniels, who's C-3PO. That's
C-3PO. Okay. But like he was like, Ewan McGregor, is that someone? Obi-Wan uses that. And I go, no. I go, I don't think Yoda's anyone. I don't think Mace is anyone.
But some of the people did carry over into the Clone Wars. Okay. A few people. I can't remember who. It might have been like Mace and somebody else. If somebody here wants to chime in, by all means, let me know. But what's funny was that I thought this was funny. The guy that does the voice in this Clone Wars is Matt Lucas. Matt with one T. I was like, wow, Matt, like a mat, like on the floor. The guy that does it in the Clone Wars is Matt Lanter, which I thought was funny, like ML and then first name both Matt. That's kind of funny. They both were Anakin. But why they didn't bring them back, I don't know. Whatever, because this
it's like they say, it's kind of like when a new boss comes in. Right. It's kind of like you just want to start everything new.
And this series is what inspired the '08 movie Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which is where we kind of see that new animation style. Which again, that movie wasn't well received because people thought that Ahsoka was annoying, and she kind of was, and that story was stupid with the baby Jabba. It was like, I love Star Wars with all my heart, but I remember going to that in theaters and falling asleep.
It's funny because I wasn't. It was weird. As big as I was not interested in that one. Mm-hmm. I didn't even come close to even seeing it, and I still haven't seen it.
Wow, to this day. Yeah, I've tried to rewatch it a couple times. I don't know that I've even gotten to the end.
I think for me, what it is like this has always been my Clone Wars here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, this was so good. Remember we talked about a few episodes, like maybe a while back, how it was so cool when shows were like 30 minutes and you almost got like a whole shitload of, content within those, 25 minutes. And I felt like that. I felt like that with 3-minute episodes. It was like, man, he did it really well. You know, he did these episodes really well where you felt like you got a lot in 3 minutes, in 3 minutes of time.
Content creators were kind of better about packing in more. You know what I mean? Like, do you remember how much you would get like out of a powerful episode of like The Fresh Prince or something like that? You're like, man, that was really only like 22 minutes. You weren't even getting 30 minutes. You know, but like that Will Smith, that Fresh Prince episode, Will and the Dad or whatever. I mean, that shit. And you guys go check out now, watch this. They covered that episode, speaking of Father's Day. And it's like moving to this day. That was the episode I saw that I was like, this guy's going to have a career.
It was so good that you can pack so much into this little short span, and it was so good.
The way that we talk about now, like we're like, with Kenobi, we're like, oh man, only like 6 episodes, man, we want more or whatever. When we were watching these 3-minute episodes, we were like, man, why did they make these 30-minute episodes? Like, why aren't they like a regular cartoon? Like, we wanted it to be like long running or whatever, But some good comments coming in here.
Jeremy says, in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game, I'm pretty sure there is one.
Very nice.
Did I read the one before?
Let me see.
Jedi Fallen Order was very informal in the way it happened, and Star Wars The Old Republic game was more cinematic but short.
Okay.
And then she says they probably got the idea for Baby Yoda from Baby Jabba. They just realized they needed something more adorable.
Absolutely, yeah. Because the Baby Jabba, I mean, like they go as far in that one as like Ahsoka's like constantly referencing how he stinks and all that, and you're like, oh, whatever. But then you're just kind of like a hut. That story was kind of thin. Like that is not a good Star Wars movie.
No,
you know what I mean? But again, it is what leads into the now famous Clone Wars, which is very good because I've watched.
Yes, I've seen a lot of episodes.
Yeah, when people say that it's essential, I watch all the Mandalore stuff. That shit is great. Yes. I mean, I've seen some of the episodes of Rebels with Sabine Wren and the referencing of. I really watched like some of the Darksaber stuff. I wanted to know more about that after the Mandalorian, but I was watching my way through some of the Ahsoka episodes too. And again, that's how much that show is that people have condensed lists to make you watch it. So again, it's all good, but this show, this Clone Wars, is really the precursor to that. And man, we think it deserves, canonization. Am I right?
It does. I mean, Grievous first got here. How can you say it's non-canon when Grievous is here?
Yeah.
Mace is here. Yoda's here.
Somebody just dropped this bombshell that Brock Lesnar was back.
Okay. Cool.
Obviously, they're desperate in the WWE right now. So, yeah.
Whatever.
But moving on from that, I agree with you. I mean, I agree with you because
Dooku's in there.
There's a lot of great too, like episodes with in the second part where now we see we go from Anakin being Padawan Anakin to Jedi Knight Anakin in the season 2. Because we've got Double A's got them both here in DVD form, which by the way very hard to find. Volume 1 there, and then in the volume 2 is where he's already got the long hair. He's looking. He's even drawn in the outfit they give him in the Clone Wars movie that he wears throughout. Yeah, man, it's really a lot of the the fleshing out of the older, mature, now a general in this army of the Republic, Anakin, and it's fantastic. And it's like, man, why wouldn't you? Keep some of that stuff or whatever, because it's just like all the stories are kind of moving the plot forward to where we know it's going, whatever. But at the same time, you have these moments to really flesh out the characters that make it great. What other things stand out for you, Double A, in these series?
Real quick, Candy says the best thing about the new Clone Wars show was seeing Palpatine do more in regards to fighting and showing off his power.
Right. Yes, I know that goes on with the Darth Maul stuff and the brother. What's his name? Savage. Savage Oppress. Yeah. So that's cool too. I love that too because they were able to kind of like fill in a lot of gaps. Like they're like, oh, like what were these people doing? What were these people doing? Bring this people back. I mean, all that stuff is fantastic. So again, we have nothing negative to say about that series.
The last few episodes in season 2 is really great, where Grievous is trying to get Palpatine.
Yes,
super great. It feels intense. It feels like there's a lot of pressure. All of a sudden they're attacking Coruscant, which is like the main base.
Right.
It's where Palpatine and the Jedis are headquartered.
Yeah, the Jedi Temple is there.
And it's like, holy shit, like Mace and Yoda are like the only 2 Jedi there. And they're like, we're being attacked. And they go out and, they kick some serious ass.
Oh, yeah, big time.
But then you find out it's a ploy. by Grievous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that Grievous is like, that's a distraction, so his ass can go and get Palpatine.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, holy shit. And, you know, Palpatine has about 3 Jedis on him, you know, that are protecting him. And Grievous just, man, he just fucking goes all over the place. He kills a lot more Jedi. Shock T was a great episode for Shock T.
Really steps up and kicks ass.
Oh man. You know, she does this really cool thing where it's Grievous has her corner, you know, and she uses the Force to wrap his cape around, you know, one of the carts, the train carts.
Yeah.
And, you know, it blinks and it takes his ass away. You know, it's like, man, that's fucking badass. You know, little things like that, you know, is really cool. And, you know, just trying to get Palpatine to safety. And, you know, obviously it doesn't work. You know, he gets Palpatine, takes him, and, you know, it leads straight into episode 3.
Right.
That's how you find out that he's, you know, you find out how he got taken. You know.
Excuse me. Right.
Which was great because it was kind of like us watching it. You know, before episode 3 came out, it was kind of like, oh, cool. So we're seeing it directly.
Yeah.
Mace tells, you know, Anakin and Obi-Wan, you need to go rescue the Chancellor. And right off the bat in episode 3, you see them going after him. Going after Grievous.
Right.
And seeing Palpatine, you know, hooked up to the chair, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. And what, that just is wonderful right there, how it does that. You know what I mean? It's exactly what Rogue One does with going into, you know, episode 4. You know what I mean? It's like that little end scene leads you right in, and that's so much fun.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool, too, because you see Dooku training Grievous, too. So that's the other cool thing. And he even tells him, he's like, stop fighting standard and use your unorthodox style.
Yeah.
You know, and it shows how it's kind of cool, too, because, like, Dooku's actually handling him. So it's kind of like, it gave you a little glimpse, like, okay, if you're super experienced, if you're a really great Jedi Master, you can take this guy down, you know, but you have to be like on a Dooku level, which Obi-Wan and Anakin weren't at that time.
They were not. They were not.
So you're like, fuck, it's got to be like a Mace or a Yoda to have to take this guy down, you know? And so that was pretty cool seeing that. You know, you got, it's like almost like 2 episodes of them, like, of that siege.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's, you know, seeing here the last one, it's that Nelvon episode.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And that little story with those creatures is kind of, you know,
that was
a sad
pretty
story.
Cool.
Yeah. I loved the end. Whatever that was supposed to be.
Did you like the kind of like the cave painting?
Yes.
How it shows, you know, the hero.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting stronger and stronger, but then it starts overtaking him.
Yeah. And you get that flash of it, kind of that tribal art. And it looks like the Vader helmet real quick, but you're like, oh shit, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, like, even going back double A to like the season 1 or whatever, right? Like, there's that Kit Fisto episode. You know what I mean? It's like, we never really saw much of Kit Fisto or whatever, but then you kind of get this whole episode with them. The episode with Master Luminari and Barriss Offee, when she's, you know, creating the saber, she talks about the blade.
Great scenes,
blade.
Yeah.
Man, I know the cave full of the crystals. And it's just like, man, this is like fucking rad. And that's why, like, when that scene that came out with Luke building the saber from the old movies, and people were like, man, why did they cut that out? I'm like, people don't get them. These are the scenes that tie us to the characters like that. Like, it's like, this is what makes it, you know, better. Can you imagine that knighting ceremony, double A, in live action?
That would be awesome.
You would be like, I would be fucking having Star Wars cream in my jeans. I'd be like, this is so great, because it's like, this is the moment. He tells them we're going to be brothers now. Later on, he says it. We're supposed to be brothers, Anakin. Yep. I'm like, oh my god! Like, I'm like, this is so fucking great. Like, I was telling my sister about it, and she's like, I got to see that. I got to see that. And what made my nephew want to watch it so much is because I had told him, I said, you'll see why General Grievous is the way he is, or whatever. You know what I mean? The coughing and all that. And he was like, oh, they show that? And I said, yeah, it's really cool. And he was like, okay. And I was like, I don't think that's in the Clone Wars. You know what I mean? It's only in this version of Clone Wars.
Do you wish they would have done that?
Yeah. What?
No. You wish he would have done that to Grievous, to smash his chest area,
like the way they showed it.
Yeah,
that was fucking rad.
Really,
I mean, that was Mace like getting him and being like,
I know, but you don't think like, man, you know, they kind of wasted that opportunity by not having this, you know, the Grievous before the injury, you know,
on screen.
Yeah. Do you think they like? That really kind of fucked up his character in the movie, because obviously people that don't see him, they're like, they see him on the movie and they're like, man, this dude fucking sucks balls.
Yeah.
You know, you think it was a smart move by them to make the injury to Grievous?
I don't know, because there's so much going on in that one. It's like, how do you do it justice? Like, it's like you have to. I don't know. I guess a great writer could have worked it.
Like maybe it would have been cool to see him and Anakin go at Grievous. It would have been cool. Maybe see them double team Grievous. You know,
yeah, I mean, because
healthy Grievous.
They finish Dooku pretty fast, right? And so it's like, okay, now you've got the next big guy that they're kind of still teamed up with or whatever. Who essentially
after seeing it again, I was kind of thinking, I was like, man, maybe they shouldn't have done that. Maybe they should have left him healthy.
Yeah,
and let Anakin and Obi kind of double team him like they did with Dooku, but
that could have been interesting too.
Maybe it would have helped the movie more. Maybe it would have helped the Grievous character more. Who knows? I don't know.
I mean, you kind of think of it too. Sometimes you're like, oh, the way that Obi-Wan dispatches him so easily, but then you're like, well, is that because his skill is that much greater? You know
or
what I mean? Like,
was it the injury?
Right. So it's an interesting thought. I guess I never gave it much thought. I like that it's Mace.
And I didn't either. And I didn't either until I was seeing it again, or I was kind of like, ooh, but because before man, he's such a beast,
right?
Grievous, it's like, golly, this new fucking villain. He sounds cool for one.
Yeah,
the voice acting, whoever it was, sounds really cool.
And they said that the reason why that this voice actor sounds so different from the movie is because they hadn't chosen the voice actor yet for the movie, so that's why.
But I like the way this one sounded more than the one who they got eventually.
Yeah. But like Candace and her husband said earlier, is like maybe he was a little too overpowered. I don't know how you would have played it in the movie.
But
where you know what I mean, like unless it's like only like Jedis of that caliber could.
That's what I'm saying. Wouldn't that be cool? Kind of like, oh, it's got to be like a certain level of Jedi to take this motherfucker down.
Could have been a missed opportunity for sure. I do know that by episode 3, we probably all feel a little bit like we're kind of eager to get to the you know what. You know what I mean? Yes. So it's kind of hard. Yes. No, what were you going to say before that?
No, nothing.
It's just one of those things where it's like, I remember Joe mentioned it one time about, No Way Home, where he was like, watching the movie the first time, I'm kind of eager to see the other guys. I know they're coming.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, come on. Like your mind is like that. Like it's like your mind is almost like ahead of you, like thinking about it, like and then so you kind of got to see it again, so you can really be like, oh man,
enjoy it, right?
Enjoy it, like for the story, for the plot, for the little moments or whatever, So it's tough because again, even with what Star Wars is, they packed a lot into those movies, and it's like you need all these side stories,
and it was to good. Tell you again, we saw different worlds, we saw different Jedis, and how badass they were.
We saw Padme being pretty badass. You know what I mean? Like she's holding her own and stuff, whatever, and being very supportive and being very loving. Like that relationship, becoming more tragic. I know that in the Honest Trailer thing we watched, they talk about Anakin being more whiny than he was in the movies, but I disagree. You know what I mean? It's like, it's
I actually thought they captured it when it was what it was. So.
I thought it was like a little bit better or whatever. He's like, he's there, but he's not like, throwing things and all that or whatever. He's just kind of, it's a little bit better. It's more rebellious teen and less like whiny, as people say or whatever. And then you get him, when he becomes, fully fledged, and it's just like he's in the moment. He's like they say, the best pilot. He's there, the great general.
He's got everything. It's just his maturity level is the
right. And I like the divisiveness in the council. Right, like is he the chosen one? Isn't he the chosen one? You know what I mean? So it's different there. You know what I mean about that. Candace comes back with some comments, and
she goes, the reason why Obi-Wan was able to take Grievous, it was due to Obi-Wan's mastery of Form 3, that he was able to defeat Grievous. He was the master of Form 3, which gave him the edge.
Absolutely, man. We always know that Obi-Wan was super strong with the Force, those type of things. I mean, like that's what kind of like, your favorite Star Wars character, and my number
because
2
of the prequels.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean just an absolute huge love for Obi-Wan. But again, I guess like for the casual viewer, it's kind of like like, oh, this is just like a big robot, and he got beat kind of easily.
Yeah, so unless you saw the cartoon, which you're just like, man, this character is fucking cool, blah blah blah, and then he comes in and you're like, oh shit, it's kind of a 180 here.
180 there, right? What are you gonna do with that? But man, all the episodes are pretty great.
And like I said, there's so much, there's so much action in like I can't remember how long season 2 was, because I know they extended, not that much, but I know they extended to like maybe 5 or 7 minutes.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's a bit more dialogue in the second half.
Yeah, in which they extended a little bit more, but man, it's just so much great action, so much great, stuff that they fit in these 3-minute episodes. So much cool imagery, like when Asajj comes out.
Ah, yes.
Remember, Dooku's kind of like looking for some more fighters or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess they're supposed to be, and she comes out, and she goes onto the battleground, and she kills everybody. She uses the Force, and she brings the boulders down and kills all those fucking fighters.
And she's using that blue and green lightsaber that like you assume she just like got somewhere.
Yeah. And then she fights Dooku, and like it shows how Dooku's just kind of like kicking her ass like super easy. And that part was cool. Him, testing her out when she wakes up after he knocks her out. She wakes up, they fight again, and it's kind of like more of an audition for the Emperor.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, okay, you're perfect. And he gives her 2 brand new lightsabers that kind of look like his,
Yeah, the red blade, the curved handles.
So it's kind of
cool. They're famous now. Those are big sellers. People love those.
It's kind of cool that they show Dooku while he's doing all this, while he's gathering armies. He's also training Grievous. He's also training Ventress. He's doing a lot. At this time, doing a lot of the Emperor's work,
which adds to his villainy, right? I mean, that adds to him being like, oh man, this guy was, this is like you're seeing a lot of Darth Tyrannus, and not so much Count Dooku, and it's like, oh, this guy was, and
again,
pretty integral in
me
their
and my brother
plot.
just love Dooku. We love him, even though he's the only one that really still continues to get shitted on.
Yeah,
we love the character. He's just super strong. We had always hoped him and Mace would actually duel. We never got to see that once. I was always hoping that him and Mace, because we always wondered who was more stronger. Was it him, or would it be Mace still? Even with Dooku kind of learning the dark side, would Mace still be able to handle him? I don't know. We don't know.
I'm curious about that one. What do you feel about Dooku and Qui-Gon?
Oh, I think Dooku would have taken Qui-Gon.
Really?
Yes, because because I don't know. There's something about Qui-Gon. It didn't seem like dueling.
Is it the loss to Maul that they did it for you?
Maybe it's just like dueling never seemed to be like something he was interested in. You know what I mean? Like we only get to see the character like in one movie, but it seemed like dueling was not something that he was like he had to do when he had to do it. But he was like it looked like Obi-Wan was a way better duelist than Qui-Gon is.
But he had to get a base of that knowledge from somewhere, which is from his master.
Somewhere, but then they get their own form. Like Candace said, how he was like a master of Form 3. It's a different style. The way he holds his saber. Remember his fighting stance compared to Qui-Gon's, where I think Qui-Gon's is right. Very normal.
No,
it's different.
It's a good point.
I mean, you can get training from someone, but then eventually you're going to get your own fighting style, right? You're not going to be exactly like your master.
It did seem too like Qui-Gon was more in touch with like the philosophical side of the Force.
Like he really wanted to learn. I mean, he's obviously the one. We find out that he's able to master that form after you die, where you become one with the Force, and you're still able to communicate. Right. We were like, holy shit! So it's Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon's the one that fucking learned how to do that.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like, oh wow,
very cool stuff.
But he never seemed to like. We never had Qui-Gon like on our. Remember, we're doing our list of like the best duelists in Star Wars,
right?
And I don't think any of us ever picked Qui-Gon like top 5, top 10.
Again, like, you're right. It doesn't really show because he kind of holds his own at first against Maul, but then in the second round, obviously, it goes the other way. So I get why that probably is.
Maul
that's
kind of does kind of overwhelm him too, even in Tatooine. Remember?
Yeah,
their first battle,
he takes off.
Yeah, he looks like he's like kind of like holy shit. When he gets on the ship, he's like, fuck.
Well, he's like, I hadn't had to do that in a while. Normally, I'm just like force pushing people around.
Yeah, so it's kind of like.
No, it's a good point. That's a good point.
And then Dooku, well, depending on, what, Yoda's probably holding back probably in episode 2. I was going to say he does kind of hold his own a little bit against Yoda, but then Yoda does kind of overwhelm Dooku.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah.
So he does that move where he's like, let me get out of here. Like,
they
retreat
but
and
it's cool
live
though,
to fight
because,
another day.
Again, it's showing like Dooku, like again, training these two fucking hopeful, strong allies, gathering the forces. I mean, he did a lot of fucking Palpatine's work, honestly. And it showed, like, in his little bit of Clone Wars, that he did a lot of the fucking heavy lifting for Palpatine. While Palpatine was manipulating, again, it shows Palpatine, telling this one side to do this, telling this side to do that, while the Jedi Order is falling, while the Trade Federation is getting weaker and weaker. It was a perfect opportunity for Palpatine to just come in and sweep with Vader. Both of them just come in and boom. Because of all these Clone Wars. The Clone Wars was just a great war that Palpatine set up.
Yeah.
Just to clear out all his enemies.
Even the orchestrating, like, in a sense, that scene with his own kidnapping. Like, us knowing what we know, where it's like, oh man, this guy is.
And probably making sure that Dooku tells his, Grievous, I need him alive. So bring him alive. Do not harm the fucking Chancellor, Which, if it happened,
he would defend himself.
Palpatine would have defended himself, but he would have revealed himself at the same time.
Which wasn't his plot. He was trying to see this whole thing through to the end of his design. You know, so
I mean, it's really cool. Like, they really, like, it kind of shows, like, even like just the Emperor is masking himself still. It's like Yoda has no clue, Mace has no clue that this man here that they're talking to, is a Sith Lord. Yeah, and they're just like, I don't know. It's crazy how he was able to hide himself.
All that time. But I think it's a great bridge. It acted as a great bridge between 2 and 3.
Like, again, after seeing it again, you can almost say it was like, movie 2.5.
Yeah.
It showed you just a great amount of the Clone Wars. It showed you the Wookiee planet, the underwater shit. Yeah. It's the space battles, the Outer Rim battles. It's just like, man, it was so good, and it was badass. It was just really good.
I remember thinking when I saw season 1 that when I, like, with the Kit Fisto episode, I was thinking to myself, like, oh, is it going to be just a bunch of showcases of, like, lesser known characters?
And see, I was thinking too, because I was like, okay, they're showing these guys a lot, and I have a comic too where it's Mace and the 3 guys that he does take to confront, Palpatine. But I mean, man, they make these guys really badass. Yeah. I forgot the one with the horns. He's one of Mace's guys. But they have an episode with him too where he's leading a space battle.
And he wears that helmet when he goes
into space. Which looks fucking cool, man. Cool. It looks great. It's like, man, they get all this samurai kind of like imagery and the Middle Ages, kind of the knights, the old school knights. And it's kind of like, man, it was really cool. It's a really cool touch.
I think so too.
Just the little helmets, the armor.
I mean, that right there, like, kind of like Jedi's fighting in space, like, with no, like,
like, how cool would that scene have been, right?
That would be like fucking bananas if we saw it. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, this is fucking great. Like,
and again, just, Shakti, the way they show her,
amazing.
Man, just a total badass. After seeing this, I almost wanted to buy her toy. I was like,
I think my sister has one of those.
She was so fucking badass in those little episodes that we saw.
But like I said too, like the episode we mentioned with, like, Master Luminari and Barrett. Like, had we ever seen that?
Like, I love that scene where she's like meditating, and the other one just like sees her and starts meditating with her teeth, but still using the Force to keep the boulder up.
Yeah, which is like, that's badass. Yeah, right. There's like so much shit like that throughout this series, and I'm just like, man, I think it's like super underrated. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I haven't read a lot about what people say about it, if it's beloved or whatever. It had like an okay rating on IMDb, but I don't know how many.
But people at the time, though, it was super popular. I just remember it was super, super fucking popular.
I mean, like I said, we all knew about it. We all couldn't wait. I think there was even like fucking like SpaghettiOs of it. Like, they had like made like SpaghettiOs of these or whatever, because it was like, and it wasn't even like a fully fledged series on Cartoon Network. It was just like these little 3 minutes. And I mean, dude, I give all the credit to that Genndy. Tartakovsky, dude from Russia, you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty crazy, you know what I mean? Like, and obviously came here, made a name for himself, loved animation. He said he saw Comic Book Rack and it inspired him to draw stuff and want to do that kind of stuff. So I can imagine, like, getting tapped for Star Wars, And then again, guys, this isn't the time when Lucas owned it or whatever. We know that Disney has, taken certain liberties with stuff or whatever. You know what I mean? And I get they're trying to clean it up, and I get that.
Filoni it's funny though. It's like they're cleaning it up, but yet they are bringing shit back. Like Thrawn. Right.
Yes.
I mean, come on, Thrawn's a fucking
way big throwback. Yeah. So fingers crossed that maybe some of this stuff gets to make it in, and all it takes is for someone to say, like, it's like the battle when Master Windu faced the droid Smash Robot or whatever the hell it was called. It was like they'll be like, oh shit, that's canon now. All it takes is something to say something like that.
Like I said, it showed their cool use of the powers, the speed, you know, flying.
Yes,
I saw Dooku fly.
Yeah,
like holy shit. You
yeah,
know?
He's doing that shit right.
The strength,
gliding on the Force.
He's fucking punching metal, Mace. He's fucking punching metal and destroying them. Using the Force, to do it
in massive ways, where they're like pushing, like lots of droids away. You know what I mean? It's great.
Especially when him and Yoda. Remember one of the stormtroopers like, the Jedi have Sector 4.
Yeah,
and you just see Yoda and Mace.
They have that whole which is kind of like what you want to see more. Where you're like, oh man.
Yeah, and then when both of them use the Force, it's like, man, it sends like a whole tidal wave of the fucking droid army away.
Because at certain times you're kind of like, man, like why wouldn't the Jedi alone be enough? But then it's like when you see that, you're like, oh, like they were doing a lot of heavy lifting. Let's see here. Candace, and I assume her husband, say they sent a lot of good stories to the extended universe, yet they have been cherry-picking stories and parts and adding them to canon. Yes, exactly. We've been loving that. It's much easier to show off the Force in animation versus live action.
Well, the only time I've really seen them use a lot of it in the live action was when Darth Maul in the fight scene.
Oh, right, yes.
He uses a shitload of the Force in that battle.
Like moving stuff and throwing it and stuff like that, for sure. Yeah, and obviously we won't talk about the it moment of this week's episode of Obi-Wan or whatever, which I'm sure you guys have seen by now. Again, we're going to address it next week or whatever, but there was definitely a display within there that has been being quite talked about, which we're definitely going to talk about next week. Again, Double A and I debated. We were like, do we do Star Wars and then do Star Wars again? We never done like back to back the same topic, but he was like, man, maybe this episode would be a great lead into that episode, which I mean, I couldn't agree more. You know what I mean? Yeah. Absolutely love what they've done with the characters, thus far, and again, adding this in builds to who they are.
Yeah, and it shows you this whole different Obi-Wan too, the more confident general, the one that's just super in touch, super strong with the Force. That just can manipulate the Force. At a whim,
Yeah.
Where he's just at his absolute peak.
Still dealing with Anakin and telling him, be mindful, young one, calling him young one and telling him this, that, it's like, you're kind of like, okay.
Yeah, he's like, you're not ready yet.
Right. Right. But I do love that scene in the season 2 of this where it's like, he's like, okay, now he fully gives his confidence to him, and not just because it's a time of war, and not just because he realizes he's gone through this, he's proven himself. You know what I mean? And you have the one Jedi Master that's like, what? We're gonna not forgo tradition. And then they start to say like, oh, Palpatine's been pushing for this. And then I love when Mace jumps in and he's like, the Senate doesn't have anything to do with Jedi affairs. It's like, okay, cool. Like there's a little bit of, and he says it. The first thing Obi-Wan says is like, this is gonna create discussion. You know what I mean? Because you're gonna half feel this way, half feel the other way, which was exactly right. But it's just a great moment. Like to me, that moment is like, there's nothing that could not have been done live action with that. That would have been a great conversation to show being had. Let's see here. Regarding what I was referencing, they pulled the Force to leash down. Yeah, which is exactly what I've been thinking of myself and reading and seeing. But damn, Double A, I feel like it was a quick show, and I feel like we kind of covered it pretty quickly.
Yeah, because I mean, there's not that much.
Yeah,
it's a whole lot. But
it's a tight. 2.5
But it's
hours.
a really great cartoon, man. It just blew me away again when I saw it. It's on Disney Plus. I forgot what it's under though. What is it under?
Let me check real quick.
You have to right. When I did it, I had to go all the way to the bottom of the sector, the sections. I had to go all the fucking way down.
So you go into Disney Plus, and then you click.
It's like under Star Wars, like Legacy, or
you click on Star Wars. You go past everything until you get to Star Wars Vintage. And once you're under Vintage, it's actually the last one in the corner. I'll show you guys a picture there real quick, but it's if you can see it with the
right there.
It's Anakin there.
That all the way. You have to go all the way, scroll all the way to the bottom.
And they put that border around it, Vintage, which I mean, I guess means
it looks like it looks like the action figure boxes, right?
Yeah,
that's what it looks like.
Yeah. So again, I guess they don't consider some of this, anything in that Vintage section to be canon, but I don't know, man. You can kind of form your own. I dread my nephew getting to episodes 4, 5, and 6 and having to watch what's on Disney Plus. I have the video cassettes, and I truly want him to watch those because to me those are the true.
You gotta you have to watch them like that. Honestly,
it's just better.
Yeah.
I mean, even then, it's just like
just to see it in its original form.
Yeah. What some of the stuff that's on there that when I was rewatching episode 1 and episode 2 of them, I was like, oh, I forgot about it. They fixed it. They fixed this, and I'm like, ugh, as the youth say, AA, right? Cringe worthy. I'm like, come on.
I think the only thing I liked when they added first, when he did it back in '97, I think was Return of the Jedi, kind of showing all the world celebrating. I think that was like the only thing I really liked what he added.
Yeah.
Them pulling down the statue,
yes.
and seeing that, I think that was like the only thing I really liked of the additions that he did. So.
I agree. There was some stuff that just didn't.
The bar scene in Return of the Jedi was horrible. You remember, right?
The singing, the additional singing. I was kind of like, ugh, you don't really need it. You know what I mean? I watched it recently. I think I watched Return of the Jedi on Star Wars Day. That was like my treat myself to Star Wars on Star Wars. I was like, let me watch Return, and I got to that part, and I was like, whew, forgot about that.
It's terrible.
I was like, I didn't really need it.
Ken is again says something shouldn't have been fixed and just left alone. Absolutely, it's just like any creator. He's like, finally, I have the technology at my hands, and I can finally add these scenes that I want. And you're just like, but these movies are regarded as perfect. But I know as a creator, he's probably thinking, like, man, I hate this scene. I hate the way this scene looks. As a creator, he's probably like, this isn't the way I want it. This is the way I want it, and I can do it now. But it's like those 3 movies are just universally held as just perfect. I mean, it's fucking crazy. Everyone says bad shit about the prequels, about the sequels, about the shows, but no one really says a bad thing about that original trilogy.
And this is the thing. This is why you have editors. You have people that come in behind you and that they do their thing, whatever, because what comes out is essentially what was meant to come out. Yeah. You did your thing, George, and you had your hands on it, but now it belongs to the world. It's like, but when you take it back and you're like, hey, guess what? Here's this. Yeah, of course we're going to look because we're like, okay, well, let us see what your vision was. And then we're like, okay, you're doing too much now.
After he fixed it, people were like, man, that shit. It's kind of like,
Yeah, it's like, it's a good thing that you had people that maybe changed that, cut that out, left that out, you know what I mean, at the time. Then you get the, there are many hands that go into creating something like that, and
honestly, for like Lucas, there's only really one movie I've ever really enjoyed that was directed by him, I guess you can say, and that was American Graffiti. Star Wars is good. A New Hope is good. Surprisingly. But I know I did see like a documentary where, Harrison Ford, there's a line where he says it and he's like, I can't say this shit. Yeah. Like you can write it, but I can't say it like that.
Right. It's not going to come out. Right.
Yeah, it's like even he knew. It was like Harrison Ford knew. It was like, no, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah. And that's where, you have actors that ad-lib and that improvise because, well, they're actors and they get a feel for the character. They know the timing when to say things. It's like, again, you can write
the famous scene too about when he's about to be frozen.
Yeah.
That Lucas originally wanted him to say "I love you too."
Yes.
And he was like, "No."
Yeah, that's not what Han would say.
Yeah, he was like, "I know."
Right. Which for George should have been the very beginning of realizing that some people are grasping and getting these characters, a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Great. He's great when he comes up with an idea. It's just he can't. I'm not. It's just really hard to say because it's George Lucas, but his dialogue is horrible. And he's directed. He directed what, episode 1, 2, and 3, or just 3?
1 and 3.
1 and 3, I think.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like,
I think that second one is that Erwin Kershner, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like,
Yeah, I know. It's tough, man. But again, in his creation,
like his ideas. With Spielberg directing, those Indiana Jones movies are fucking spectacular.
That's the multiverse we dream of, right? Where Spielberg directed the Star Wars, and they're even better.
But you know what? The one he didn't do, Empire. it's regarded as the greatest Star Wars movie.
And I think in like a lot of people, it's just like all time great movie.
And you know what? I didn't appreciate it until I saw it probably 20 years ago, where I was a little bit older and I was just like, wow. This movie is really fucking good. Like, it's really, really good,
It's, like, got parts that are, like, dark and scary.
Because, like I said, for a long time, like, Return was my favorite.
Yeah.
And it's just, I guess, like you said, as you get older, it's kind of like, well, Empire, after you see him, it's kind of like, well, shit, Empire is, like, man, that's superior.
I had to concede that, like, Jedi is superior. Yeah, Return is, like, my favorite in my heart, but Empire is the superior film. It's the better movie.
No, but, it's like I always tell you, it's like, this one's my favorite, but the best one is this one in this trilogy.
Yes,
I've always said that, plenty of times.
Although, to me, that's like, Empire and Jedi are like Godfather 1 and 2. It's like, they're both really great.
But you can see why Empire just tips that scale a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. You get it. You absolutely get it. Let's see here.
Candace says, Episode 5, best Star Wars ever.
Yeah.
And again, it's just really hard to disagree. I mean, it's so much better than Star Wars.
Of all the things that Star Wars fans don't agree on, I think that might be one thing that the majority of them do.
That's one movie I've never seen gets toppled.
No,
Episode 5.
Yeah, and I would put that movie up there with movies like The Godfather 1 and 2.
Yeah, for sure.
Citizen Kane.
They even say that.
Shawshank.
I don't know if you remember, but they even kind of like debate that in Scream Part 2. They're in the movie class, Jamie Kennedy, and they're saying how sequels aren't really better than the first one, and you're like Godfather Part 2, and then they say Empire, and he said some bullshit like why Empire shouldn't be considered like a sequel or some shit like that.
I don't remember.
But, they mentioned Godfather Part 2, they mentioned Empire.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, hey, that is definitely true. But yeah, again, from all we've said about George's creation or whatever, George Lucas, the creator, and that's what he is, and we owe all Star Wars to him.
Created this vast universe that you can just keep on adding to, or you can add new mythology to it. I mean, he left that there where you can fill in the blanks of what he did. Or you can go back and create your own timeline here or after, before Skywalker or after Skywalker.
Yeah.
I mean, he left that all wide open.
He did something so great, AA, right, that it inspired so many others to be like, can we take a crack at it? And that's when you get...
And a lot of actors just want to be in a Star Wars movie just to say I was in a Star Wars movie.
Totally. Absolutely. I would want to do that. I'd be a covered-up stormtrooper.
I mean, there's that famous clip of Ewan McGregor getting to pick his lightsaber,
Yeah.
When he first joined the cast in Episode 1, he's like, ooh, cool. Which one can I get?
What an amazing feeling. And then to be that iconic character, right? Famously, too, right? Isn't Daniel Craig a stormtrooper in one of them?
Yes, because he wanted to be in Star Wars.
I mean, that means that he had to, go show up on set, know that he was going to be like, just dress me up. Cool. Let's do this. You know what I mean? Awesome. I think that's amazing. Star Wars Tales, Garth Ennis did that famous story. You know what I mean?
Right.
The stormtrooper and what a story for him to choose to do that.
That's right.
We love Garth Ennis from Star Wars Tales. A bunch of great stories too, like this one that is no longer considered canon, unfortunately. And there's a bunch of great Star Wars Tales. That's a comic book that are great, interesting, insightful stories from the world of Star Wars. So, again, it's in the Vintage Collection on Disney Plus. It's at the very bottom, at the very last one to pick. They don't want you to start watching it, but we're bringing attention to here on Just Another Friday Night because we want you to go watch Star Wars and Clone Wars, the Clone Wars.
This is going to be turning 20 years next year then. So,
how crazy is that? Crazy. I expect a re-release then, some type of re-release. Right, and then Disney never missed opportunity to get a little cash out of it, right? A buck is to be made. You know what I mean? I might see there might be some new action figures coming out, so who knows? Revive the love and revive the conversation about something great. Don't you guys want to see Anakin get knighted? Him lose his Padawan braid? See C-3PO, mention that he now has gold plating. See how General Grievous gets all wheezy and Revenge of the Sith.
Because my brother didn't know all this time. I thought he had always knew how he got like that. He was like, he didn't know. So it was like the first time he saw it. He was like, "Oh, that's why he's like that." I was like, "Yeah,
yeah." And Double A, do you know if these Star Wars Republic comics are considered canon or not? Or not?
See, that's
either?
the thing. Probably not because they're under Dark Horse.
Ah, okay. Again,
So
yeah. And now Marvel is like the
Marvel's got it again.
So this is a really cool issue that I told Double A that I'm on the hunt for because again, one of the things I told my nephew that happened in this Clone Wars cartoon was that this is where we see Anakin get the famous scar. Which he actually doesn't have it on the cover of this one.
Not in there, but he does have it because when
Padme
he's getting tattooed too.
Yeah,
it marks his fucking scar.
Yeah, and Padme actually sees him because he goes into a battle. He comes back. He takes off. She touches it in the cartoon. There's no dialogue in that part, but in this comic book right here, it actually says this Star Wars Republic 71. It's Asajj that gives it to
right
him.
here too, a Clone Wars comic.
Yeah, which is another cool thing that happened that you're like, oh, it's like filling in gaps. Like,
Dark Horse did a really good job on these issues.
The art's amazing.
Run. Yeah, it is. They did a really good job. I was so into it. I was so into everything Clone Wars. I wanted to know everything. I was buying the cartoons. I was buying the comics. I was buying the toys. You remember my Anakin Obi-Wan that I had, there for a long time. I had Mace. I had the 3 Jedis that he took with Palpatine. You know what I mean? I was just so into all the Clone Wars stuff. I was like, I couldn't get enough.
And that's just it sometimes too. It's like I said, with all that knowledge, we're like searching our memory banks for is there did that ever happen? Did we ever see that? Do we ever see? I don't remember. You know what? Like in my mind right now, after having just watched this, I was like, what didn't overlay good that it couldn't have been canon? Like were there certain things?
I don't know.
I'm sure somebody could. I'm sure I could look up an article, and I probably will because it's gonna eat me away now. But I'll definitely will be like, I want to know what it was that made it like, oh, because this happens and they said this happens. So, but yeah, man, totally love the Clone Wars, and Clone Wars because this is not the Clone Wars; it's just Clone Wars, and highly recommend it. Anything else, Double A, that you care to add or bring up?
Just watch it. Like you said, it's 2 hours, but it'll feel real quick. And
it's
the animation rocks, the sound effects rock. Just everything looks good. The stormtroopers are badass. The Jedis are extremely badass. So it's great. Grievous is. If you want to see what the whole hoopla was about Grievous, you'll see it here in this cartoon. What a badass that he was. So
absolutely,
it was real cool. And if you're a fan of Ventress, you'll like her indeed.
Kind of like her first appearance in many ways. Yeah, so I love that too. Couldn't agree more with Double A. Absolutely love it. I had borrowed these from him years ago and held on to them for a couple of years.
I didn't even remember. I was like, when he bought them back to me, I was like, oh shit.
And I don't remember popping them in the DVD player or whatever, as I actually waited until it came out on Disney or whatever to rewatch. But they're hard to find now. I've tried to find copies, so hopefully maybe for the 20-year anniversary we'll get a re-release of some kind. Maybe then I'll be smart enough to pick one up. Facebook user says, rock on, bud. Facebook user, identify yourself. Don't forget to give us permission. StreamYard.com/Facebook. You can give StreamYard permission to use your name and show you here on show your name and picture here from your Facebook. So, but with that being said, Double A, man, felt like a quick one, like an episode of Clone Wars. Anything else you want to?
Just again, guys, for all you fathers, uncles, grandpas, anyone that is a father figure to whoever, son, daughter, grandchild, or whatever. Happy Father's Day.
Yes, happy Father's Day to all you dads out there and dad figures. Happy Father's Day to my dad. Dad, I'll see you later. Also, we missed it, not intentionally, whatever. We always do something. We had something planned and it didn't go through, but happy late Memorial Day, honoring all those who lost their lives, defending our country. We salute you. We remember you. We know, I guess you're not supposed to say happy Memorial Day, but again, Memorial Day remembrance. For that, we did not forget Memorial Day. We had something specifically planned, really cool. I hope we'll get to do it next Memorial Day because I really love that idea.
Or 4th of July.
Yeah, or 4th of July.
Or Veterans Day.
Or Veterans Day. Double A comes up with some really great stuff. I think this idea would suit any one of those. But it would be really good. So we want you all to know remembrance for Memorial Day. We didn't like I said, think about it. And again, we got Juneteenth coming up.
And happy 3-day weekend for whoever who has that.
Yeah, and go check out our Juneteenth episode. We did a really cool episode, I think, about Juneteenth. Couple of seasons
just like
back.
The pioneers.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff in that episode. A lot of fun, a fun listen. I don't remember what episode it was, what season it was, but I reorganized our Facebook, our YouTube episodes by seasons now. So
that one probably wouldn't be on there most likely.
It might have been before we were doing video.
Yeah, so
if not, you can find it on Spotify.
Yeah.
Or on Anchor.com. But check out everything, all of our social media links over at justanotherfridaynight.com. Please give us a like on Facebook, join our Facebook group, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, and we're on TikTok. I think I just put up our first TikTok in a while.
And we just need 18 more subscribers to YouTube.
18. If you guys,
18 more subscribers, and
please subscribe to us on YouTube. We're trying to hit 100. When we get to 100, we can change our YouTube to youtube.com/justanotherfridaynight versus right now it's like youtube.com/ like a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
We just need 18 more.
So 18 more. We've done really well. Yeah, I want to say thanks again to Collecting Weekly, specifically, the Oxfather for bringing himself, bringing us some subscribers like Dean the Dream and some others there. We really appreciate that. And those guys said they want to do something soon. So if you guys, again, these guys are the it guys when it comes to toys. They do a lot of collecting, a lot of fun stuff. We'd love to do something with them, go on their show, but we would absolutely love to have them come on our show too, and they will bring you a real heavy knowledge on toys of the level I cannot even fathom. So yeah. But if there's nothing else, Double A, I guess we get on out of here.
Yeah.
Well, let the Friday Nighters get their 3-day weekend started.
My wife,
all the Friday Night faithful. Yeah, she's probably missing you right now. Yeah, might mean to. And we got stuff early tomorrow as well. So hopefully we'll get some pictures posted from some of that cool stuff. But guys, we like to end every show with a little reminder, a little words of Jedi wisdom, we like to think. But guys, if there's something that you want to do, a hope, a dream, something that you wish to accomplish, do it now. Why wait? Seize the day, right? Obviously, Anakin Skywalker was one all about seizing the day, never waiting for his master to give him permission, even when he tells him he's going to take Dooku now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to take him now. And it cost him an arm. I'm not saying I want that to happen for you all, but...
and then when he tried doing that with Obi-Wan, it cost him an arm and a leg.
Yeah. Not good. So, don't seize the day, but do it in such a way as though
you're not going to fucking lose parts.
lose body parts, yeah, for sure. And the other thing we'd like to say comes from, a man who we consider a friend of the podcast as well, Captain Steve Rogers, although he'd probably be unhappy about the language. But when he reminds us in Endgame, we got to do whatever it takes, so... For Anakin, he did do whatever it takes, even though it cost him an arm and a leg, and turning to the dark side.
And his wife.
In a sense, his kids in a way too. On Father's Day might not be the best message, but otherwise,
not the best father.
You know what we mean? Yeah. I won't give him Dad of the Year credit, although I'm a Vader sympathizer. So, what are you gonna do, right? Guys, do whatever it takes. Seize the day. Go watch Star Wars Clone Wars in the vintage section at the very end because it's so worth it and it's so much fun. It's definitely, I think, one of our favorite pieces of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Way up there. Loved watching it this time. We'll definitely watch it again. Probably be watching it for a little bit now because I'm like, ooh, that was really good. But yeah, guys, we already buried the lead. Next week, it's all Obi-Wan. There's no doubt it's going to end on Wednesday. We're going to watch it that day probably and be really, really ready to talk about it. So if you want to avoid spoilers next week on Friday night, do not watch the show then. Wait until you've seen all of Obi-Wan, and then we're going to talk about it. And any of you Star Wars fans that joined us tonight that want to talk about Obi-Wan next week, please, we welcome you to come back. We'd love to have you on here and talking Star Wars with us because, we don't know it all. We're not Wikipedia, so we don't know everything there is to know about Star Wars. We just know that we love it and we're huge fans. We put ourselves in the blue lightsaber light of Obi-Wan tonight, and we've got some comics in the back, Double A's personal collection, and these figures I have here, which if you're just listening to us on audio, you can see those on YouTube again, youtube.com. Search Just Another Friday Night, or go check us out on Spotify where our video shows as well. Other than that, that's it, guys. There's only one way to end a Star Wars episode, right? Double A. May the Force be with you. Have a good night, you guys. See you next week.